is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 68. My name is Zach Graham, your host here on the North End Podcast, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him E, a.k.a. E. James, a.k.a. Sebastian Drew Easy, a.k.a. Eastradamus, a.k.a. Pap E. O'Daniel, a.k.a. the Fashionista, a.k.a. Chili Willie, a.k.a. Go E. Chestnut, a.k.a. Eon. Donko. E. Midweek here, getting ready for Inter Miami this weekend. Inter Messi, as some have called, although we won't see the GOAT on the pitch this Saturday. But it's, I think it's a good time to be an Austin FC fan. That's how we left off on Sunday, and nothing has happened to dissuade me from feeling that way here on Wednesday evening. How are you feeling, my friend?
I was planning on coming into this episode with a very hard mindset of last week was fucking last week, and it does not mean anything going into this game coming up. And I was ready to dive into Miami and look at the matchup and understand the implications and then try to wrap my head around what the Inter Miami players are feeling like right now. And then we get this news today. And I must say, yes, this week still matters now. And I'll have to push my excitement for this upcoming Miami game and that everything we did last week does not matter to after the pod, I suppose, or before the game. Maybe I'll enjoy it for a night, but I was just up last night, couldn't really sleep, thinking about the matchup and what I wanted to say about Miami and the mindsets of the clubs. I know we talked a little bit about trap games and how dangerous they can be. So I was just all in on that. And then now I got to go look up a man named Rodolfo and I'll start doing my research. So should be a good one, man. So I'm excited for the pod, excited for this episode. And look, it's a good time to be an Austin FC fan right now. So I can't complain.
The good results are being strung together both on and off the pitch by this club. And, you kind of leaned into it a little bit there. So let's just start the pod talking about our new sporting director, Rodolfo Borrell. Borrell is a 52-year-old coach that hails from Spain. And he was most recently Pep Guardiola's top assistant. Let that sink in for a second. I mean, look, E, neither of us, I guess I can't speak for you. Before 9:16 a.m. Central Time today, I didn't know a goddamn thing about this man. But I know some things now, and just that fact off the top, we'll get into his background here, but what was your thought when you saw that piece of news come through, tweeted by Fabrizio Romano, one of, if not the biggest soccer beat reporter in the world? And I think he's tweeted about us 3, 4, maybe 5 times at this point. But anytime you see that come across, first of all, you double take. Yeah. Then you check the handle to make sure it's not a fake account. And then you start to lose your mind. What were your thoughts when you saw that tweet come through?
I mean, initially, just when I saw, like you said, completely in the dark about this man, had no idea that he existed. Okay. But initially, just seeing that we hired a sporting director, I was already elated because of what it does for the club in regard to taking a huge portion of responsibilities off Josh's plate, providing direction for how we want to build, where we want to go, what type of culture we're going to set. And then obviously diving into who he is, his pedigree, his history, the success, the names he's linked to. And yeah, just off the wall, elation, just like, let's do it, baby. And, just getting to read more and learn more about him was great. And obviously the success that they just had winning the treble over there with Man City. Shout out to my Man City friends. I do have a couple of them. I know that's going to ruffle some Liverpool fan feathers, but shout out to them for a great campaign. And now, I'm glad you guys are upset because we got your boy now. We got Pep's right hand man.
Yeah,
boy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. The report from Fab was later confirmed by Tom Bogert and the Athletic. So, just the MLS bigwigs, as our buddy Peach put it this morning, acknowledging us a little later when they were able to confirm this story. Before we get into more, I guess, discussion about what this potentially means for the club and how Josh mostly deflected at today's press availability after training, I guess a little bit more on his background. Because again, I would imagine that even if you're a diehard fan of the top flight football overseas, are you really that up on the assistant coaches and like former I can't imagine that this guy was like super well known to anybody but the absolutely like the diehard EPL fans.
Yeah, I mean, we're as big as NBA heads as there gets, and I mean, I could name you maybe 10 assistant coaches. I was
going to say 10, yeah,
something like that in the NBA. And I feel like that's probably even easier to keep track of than everything.
Yeah, there's less teams.
Yeah, and with international sport. So, yeah, man, I'm just excited.
So, Coach Borrell, I guess we call him coach if he's sporting director. I'm going to call him Coach Borrell.
Okay.
Because that is what he has been throughout his career. I think that is maybe the one eyebrow raiser that I had at first. And I saw multiple other folks saying, this guy has no sporting director experience. But I think learning more about his resume, I don't have much worry about his ability to adjust here. And we'll get into, he's not going to just be coming into this alone with no help and no guidance, no crash course from people that we have in our front office to help him get acclimated. And who knows how long this has been brewing. Right. It's been a couple weeks since the Champions League final ended. It's not like they just reached out to this guy last night and came to an agreement this morning.
Yeah.
So Coach Borrell started off 1995. So I want to say he was like mid-20s. He's 52 years old. So that feels like okay math. He's a young coach, right?
It's funny because I was obviously reading up on him earlier and I tried to do the math in my head. I was like, 95, 2023, and then that from 52. So I know what you're doing, and also I didn't get to a definitive number.
Well, so he started off. He's not like the Eric Spoelstra starting in the video room, right? Mm-hmm. He's not your Popovich starting at the D3 level, right? Borrell started his career 13 years with Barcelona at various levels of their academy. He was responsible for forming part of the team that developed players like Messi and Piqué and Fabregas, Iniesta. Like, those are some names. So he did have one season as the head coach of a team called, and this is going to be my best attempt at the Greek here, Iraklis. It's a Greek second division team, and that was in 2008. Right after that one season, because it looked like he joined as an assistant there. In the same season, was made manager. Maybe just kind of a tumultuous year of turnover there on the bench for that club. After that one season, he spent 2 pretty successful seasons as the head coach of Liverpool's U18s, and then was named the head coach of Liverpool's reserve team, which I think is like a U23 squad, for one season. And then after that season, he became the academy technical director for Liverpool, kind of overseeing the entire academy. Spent 3 years in that job, then got the same gig with Manchester City in 2014. And then he was made an assistant coach on the bench for the first team in 2016, the same year that Pep Guardiola took over as manager for Man City. So like you said, this is his boy. And Borrell is coming off winning the treble with Man City. Like, you go search the pictures of Pep with the Champions League trophy. Who's next to him? Austin FC's new sporting director. Like, they won the Premier League, they won the FA Cup, they win UCL, and now Borrell is headed to Central Texas. And I wanted to get a little bit or just see what I could find, not just with his bio and not just through articles and stuff, but maybe search on YouTube. Just search his name, see what comes up. And one of the first results, I think it was actually the first result, and that may differ. I don't know if, the YouTube algorithm overlords are serving me this video first for a reason. But the first video I saw, is a video of Borrell with the NYCFC Academy when they were just getting off the ground, I think about 8 years ago. He's there talking about his passion for developing the youth throughout a system and how that can really build the success for a franchise. And the one other person that he talks about and is shown within that video sitting around a conference table with some other NYCFC Citigroup bigwigs is Borrell and Claudio Reyna. So I guess that's where we can end the bio and start talking about maybe what this means for Austin FC. Do you think that Claudio Reyna, who again, obviously out completely as sporting director, has not been confirmed by the club to have fully exited the Austin FC realm, even though I think that is probably the most likely thing at this point after he was taken off the club's website as an advisor or whatever the secondary role they placed him in after he resigned. Do you think there's a connection between Claudio Reyna and getting Borrell over here? And maybe if not that maybe it was the connections that drew Claudio Reyna to Austin in the first place. Maybe those back channels also facilitated this?
I think that makes sense. Obviously, we know Claudio's exit was not a nice one. It was not what I imagine anyone wanted or foresaw when the deal was signed. So Claudio, I'm not going to talk about, I'm not like him as an individual. I'm going to talk about him like in his role and in his capacity with the club.
Right.
So like the things that drew him to our club probably remained present throughout his tenure at Austin FC. Now, I think I would like to think and speculate that he was willing to accept the punishment that he knew would be coming from the fallout from what happened. It was a mistake. Like, it was a huge mistake.
Multiple mistakes.
Yes.
Were revealed, and maybe not even mistakes, maybe just the quality of his character. But sorry to interrupt.
No worries. So I feel like that maybe Reyna, as a parting gift or whatever you wanted it to be,
sure, okay,
could have facilitated this, to try to leave the club in good standing. He built this club.
Yeah.
So like, I think he wants to see us succeed. I think that would be part of why he took the reason one of the reasons why he took the job at Austin FC. So I don't know if it was something where, he could have recommended to Rodolfo how we operated, or could have just said to Austin FC management and top brass, hey, I know of this guy, or if that relationship existed already and was in the decision-making process for the front management.
Right.
So I think it's plausible. There's definitely some smoke there.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever find this, the actual concrete answer out, but there are some connections, and it could have been something that it was based off recommendation, and they ran with it.
Yeah. Well, and again, it could be Claudio could not be involved at all in this particular acquisition, but again, like you said, maybe those connections, that baseline was already there, right? That foundation was laid maybe over the past few years, and maybe the front office could just reach directly out to Borrell and see if they could get a bite. And clearly, whatever happened, we'll take it.
Absolutely.
I mean, again, like we said, Borrell has no formal sporting director experience, and there are some big, just completely fundamental differences between EPL and the top 5 leagues in general, or just world football in general, and how we do things here in MLS. I think it's a different challenge for Borrell in multiple ways, right? both in the sense of his lack of experience in this official with a sporting director title, and just the fact that the rules, the salary constraints, are way different. Because from what I think we could find, he had, even though he was, just an assistant coach, or not just an assistant, but he was on the bench, right, and not in the front office. From what I could tell, he had a hand in building this Man City roster that ran roughshod over the entire world, essentially, over the last year. So, like, if he's got experience in that sense, he's just so much more constrained and has a lot to learn coming here. What are your thoughts on that? Like, I think you and I were kind of talking before we hit record. What's the motivation for somebody like that to take a job like this? And maybe MLS is seen as this sort of proving ground for somebody who has already accomplished essentially everything. Is like, okay, you can do it with the money behind you, the name of the club, the crest, right? The ownership group. You've got all the resources available to you over there. You've got no constraints. You can buy the best players that your money allows you to over there. Not the case here. So maybe this is kind of it's certainly a different challenge, and maybe, like I keep coming back to that phrase, that this could be a proving ground for somebody like that, not just to come over here and win a cup, but to build a sustainable model in this league to do what, we were talking about after the match on Saturday, that no team in the last decade of this league, as it has continued to expand, no team has had that consistent trophy winning results year over year. It's been 10 years since we had a repeat champion. So I guess maybe just coming from me, maybe that's a reason, like my best guess at why he would even consider us. Like, again, I know we're not, like, we are an attractive destination, especially when you're just looking in the vacuum of Major League Soccer, but to go from the heights, the absolute pinnacle of the sport, outside of on the international level, winning a World Cup, to here is just, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, my best guess is that you look at his track record, where he's been, what he's done. He clearly loves and has made a very successful career out of developing young players, bringing kids along into the program, developing talent from top to bottom. So now he gets to do that in the largest capacity possible. Being a coach can be a little more stressful than being in the sporting director's position. You're at the forefront, regardless of assistant or not. There's different emotions that come into play when you're actually coaching the game, as opposed to sitting up there in the box. So I think from a standpoint of his career, obviously just had this ridiculous success with Manchester City. So you can check that off the box, and maybe he's an individual who wants to move on to his next goal that he wants to accomplish. And I think that, given who he is and where he's been and what he's done, that one of the most important things to him is building a club from top to bottom with a unified culture. We're bringing up good players. And look, every time we've had someone on this pod who has a lot of knowledge about MLS or even international soccer, and I ask them, whether it was Lahoud or whether it was Bogert, I asked them, what do we need to do as a league to improve our standing, not only on the world stage, but here in the United States? And they all said, grassroots development from the youth, building clubs up from the ground up. I was listening to Texas Ring of Fire last night, and you'll have to forgive me, I forget the guest's name. Maybe it was Sam.
So Sam is just their Houston correspondent.
Okay, so Sam was on there, and they said, well, what does Houston need to do to pack the stadium there at NRG? And he said it. More community involvement, grassroots development from the team, homegrown players on the roster, things that people can attach themselves to from a community standpoint, from a fan standpoint. So I think that this is probably a larger scale operation for him in regard to developing a club entirely, as opposed to being assistant coach for one of the best managers in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's just like, again, going from the point when I woke up this morning, not knowing anything about this man, it's hard to say. I can't say anything definitively outside of just being excited.
Yeah. I mean, we can look at clues and things and look at his career and try to speculate really what motivates him, and maybe he'll talk on that at some point in time. But you look at a coach, I mean, a player that goes directly to being a head coach. That happens all the time. Like, where's your motivation there? Like, what's the transitional point where like this is completely missing? And then I do want to touch on Rubio, like where he falls into this equation, because
so let's say what does it mean for Rubio? What does it mean for Josh?
Yeah. So I'll start with Rubio.
Sure.
And obviously the architect of the Austin FC2 club. So the same kind, something that they can relate with there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Rubio knows how to make numbers work, understands TAM, GAM, the salary cap restrictions, whatever it may be, that will be a completely brand new concept to Rodolfo. And also, I don't think he's coming into this completely ignorant and blind and not understanding at least the basics of what's going on in regard to roster construction and salary cap restrictions in MLS. So with that being said, I hope that Rubio has some sort of, role in this war room, is still present there, can be Rodolfo's kind of right-hand guy in regard to, this is how we make this money work. These are the constraints that we have to fit this player into, whatever it may be. In regard to Josh, first and foremost, I'm so happy that this is off his plate. Talk about plate spinning. He was spinning all kind of plates on his own before this happened. So I'm super glad that this is off of his hands and he can fully dedicate himself to being the manager of this club and making us as successful as possible. I would be shocked if he wasn't involved in this decision. I would be shocked if Rodolfo came in and fired Josh. Do I think that it's 0% chance? No. There's some. Sure. There could be some.
There's always a chance.
Exactly. And that's all I'm going to give that. Yeah. Look, man, it makes Josh's life easier. We said, how are we going to fire our coach even if we don't have a sporting director? Like, where are we going? Where's the team moving? So also you take into account the things that Josh has said in interviews. Multiple plate spinning. We're looking in the league. We're looking outside of the league. We're doing all we can to improve this roster. So now you have this guy on board. Tell me some guys don't want to come play for him? Some younger,
yep,
talented guys who, when you say, hey, you come to sit down and talk to us, hey, man, Lionel Messi? Yeah, I helped bring him up. Those Barcelona clubs that were unbeatable? Yeah, I played a big role in that, and I can help you grow and develop here. And as you look, is the trajectory of this league, it's on the up and up. And we said,
who's in MLS now?
Yeah, exactly. And they said there's going to be hungry young guys who want to come and play against the GOAT and get their shot.
Yeah.
So, bring them on. And I don't want to speculate in people's hopes too high up, because like we said, this organization has been running basically an airtight mission, because this wasn't on anybody's radar. Wasn't even a blip. Wasn't even like a crazy wild speculation. So whatever they're doing behind the scenes to make this roster better, I'm putting my faith in it, and just looking forward to building this club. Like we had the foundation somewhat crumble when we lost Claudio.
Yeah, there was a couple pillars cracked there in the foundation.
For sure. And this is somebody who we can bring in and be like, this is how we're going to build this club from top to bottom.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And I think that's just like what gets me most excited about this news, outside of the stability it provides in the direction, right? Like maybe that's number one for every level of this team. Like you said, recruiting guys in. That's at every level, man. If we're recruiting one of the top 12-year-old prospects for our U12, trying to get him into our system, get him into our pathway, like this is going to help immensely. And to your point, bringing up when Kevin was here and he's talking about, South American defenders are going to want to come to MLS. Let me get my shot at the GOAT. Again, it's just going to help every level of this franchise. And I think just first team specific, we were just talking about how we are far from the most efficient in terms of how we're using our 30 spots on that first team roster. And look, you can't turn that over in a day, but getting this guy who's well established with his connections from around the globe just gives me so much more confidence that we are going to continue to shore up the rough edges that we do have in our first, our top 30 spots there. And I'm with you on, like, I hope Rubio stays. Look, Bob Bradley just got canned at Toronto, right? And we saw that coming. Yep. The Athletic runs the story and the players are in the media saying we need change. Like, something, head's going to roll, whether it's players getting shipped out or changes on the bench. Sean Rubio was with Toronto in the past, in their front office. Maybe he gets a role there. And if he does, great. Like, more power to him. Would love to see him go on to bigger and better things. Selfishly for us, I would like to see him stay around, because yesterday, if we would have had this conversation about our sporting director, I think we wouldn't have been nowhere near as excited as this, right? Because Sean Rubio is more known to us. He's been here. But we still had that unknown with Sean that we were like, okay, like, let's see this summer transfer window play out. Let's give him this audition of sorts. So again, like, just because we've got Borrell in here now does not mean I want to see Sean Rubio leave. Quite the opposite, for me, at least.
Absolutely. And I think, look, for the people who have stated that they're concerned because he hasn't been in a full sporting director role, I understand that. I get that. I think that that's reasonable.
Sure.
But there's no way the club isn't going to have somebody who does numbers for him. That's just not
right.
Like it's just not. Right. They're not. They have.
There's going to be a team of people.
Yes, they have experts on making sure that we're going to be able to do the things that we want to do with the rules that are in place in this league. And then, I mean, even from a standpoint of the young guys, the FC2 guys, how excited I am for them to get a name like this in here. And clearly a guy, there's a quote that he has on his wiki page here that I just want to touch on, and I should have highlighted it. But it was basically, to paraphrase, that, if you're ready to come up, I am excited to work with you and get you to the next level and teach you how to be a professional who not just comes into this league, but has a career in the league. Now, I added that last part there, but it's exciting all the way down, top to bottom. And I understand the hesitation, the concern regarding not having the official title before, but he clearly knows how to build a roster. He clearly knows how to develop players.
Well, and who does that make, like, that, the quote, and you pointed that out to me earlier. Who does that make you think of? For me, it's CJ Fodry.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like
David, CJ.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just thinking of the guys who have the first team deals right now and can just be called up whenever with no limitations. Like, and again, like, maybe that's just me because both of us are huge Fodry fans, and like we want to see him, develop and come up the right way. And again, like, maybe that time isn't this season. I hope he gets his shot at some point with the first team this season, but it could very well be that we don't see him till next year. But I think for him, and by extension, of course, like you mentioned, just anybody on the FC2 roster, Kip, AOC, Charlie, any of those guys. And again, even the guys who aren't on first team contracts, like, it doesn't matter. Whatever team you're on, if you're wearing that crest, the tree with the 11 leaves on it that says Austin FC, this is great for you if you are a player wearing that crest.
Absolutely.
We had media availability today, so I've got some quotes kind of throughout the podcast and just taking various snippets from Phil West at the Striker, Adam Ribbeck, our boy, shout out the Ribbinator, who was on the pod last week.
0 for 1 on bets.
0 for 1 on bets. We were much better this week. I can't believe neither of us hit that game. That game ties? Are you kidding me? Anyways, we'll get to the nonsense later. Pulling a little bit from Eric Goodman at the Chronicle. But everybody who was there, I was diving in once those started surfacing. And Josh, because this is not official from the club yet, obviously he's going to deflect with the PR trained guy that he is. But they pulled a couple tidbits out of there from him. He said there should be information on the sporting director position. He said we've been talking to multiple candidates, but there should be some information in the near future. We keep that in house, right, until it's ready to come out, and that's how this club operates, has operated, and will continue to. And he got, I think it was Phil that asked him, but the gaggle there was able to pull out little quote on Borrell. He said Borrell certainly has the qualities of a sporting director. So again, even though he hasn't been SD somewhere, Josh let on, he thinks he's going to be just fine. He said contacts around the world, and obviously the technical acumen is there. And then this is what I thought was most interesting and kind of confirmed what we had been speculating on for a while now, you and I at least. He's talking about Claudio and what that did to the team in the offseason. He said it's unsettling for something like that to happen in January, December, whenever it was finally realized that Claudio was stepping away. It makes it unsettling in the offseason. We lost some players unexpectedly because communication broke down. Probably Ruben. We didn't get players in that we should probably have got in. Who knows who that is?
Yeah.
And we didn't move players on that we probably could have moved on. Probably Rodney. Maybe Alex. Who knows? Again, we're putting the tinfoil hats on now. But he says, so without a sporting director in place and the uncertainty that provided, it put us in a tough spot to start the season. It was challenging and it's been difficult. And I wanted to pair that with shout out the Moon Tower boys. I definitely not been jealous of the guests that they get every week, talking to every Apple TV announcer and even then some. But Chris Whittingham, who I'm a huge fan of because I love Le Batard's show, and he was the EP there for, a year and a half or so. But great announcer. I think we've only had him for one game this year. But when I saw Whitty was going to be on Moon Tower, this is going to be good. And he actually said on Moon Tower that he had talked to Josh about this subject, about his increased role. And so from Moon Tower, Chris Whittingham said, having spoken to him, meaning Josh, I wouldn't underestimate the fact that he's had to take on a role in the front office this year. He kind of talked about that he's being spread. I wouldn't say he's being spread thin, but he definitely is this is a lot different of a job with me having to take on a role in the front office this year. Every second I'm not on the training ground is a second not lost, but sort of done differently than he's done it before. And like you said, as a first-time manager, you don't have that experience to lean on. I've done this front office thing before, so now I can do that. He said, no, now he's trying to figure it out on the fly. And what he finished with, I wouldn't be surprised if that played a role in the differences in outcome year over year so far this season. And so, we have now a very credible guy in Chris Whittingham, who's an Apple announcer and was an announcer before that.
Mm-hmm.
Very experienced and ingrained in this MLS ecosystem, telling us that Josh did not want the sporting director responsibilities. And who can blame him? He was hired as a coach. That's not a profession. And again, his first time coach anyways.
Yeah.
So man, you already touched on it, but this is fantastic for all levels, including Josh Wolff, because now he gets to go and focus on the thing that he should have been focusing on this whole time. And if I'm going to take a negative out of all this, I didn't know I could feel worse about Claudio Reyna, but I fucking do today because he screwed us, man. He screwed us with the selfish actions over multiple years.
Yeah. I talked about it way back.
Yeah, you did.
Reyna and how impactful that was from top to bottom for this organization. Yep. And it just got lost in the madness of the season. And once we started out and the injuries started to flow and all the unfortunate things that happened to us at the beginning of the season just kind of got lost. But now you see it. And now you see the actual roster implications that, that happened or did not happen because we just couldn't get deals done because we didn't have a real acting sporting director. And of course, Josh doesn't want to fucking do that.
Yeah.
Said I have no experience doing it. Why would he want to take on both of those things and juggle both of those things at one time? So Claudio did fuck us, man. And like I said just moments ago, our foundation was cracked and had some real damage done from his actions. And now we can start that rebuilding process a little bit. And we said it before, it's a fucking marathon, man. We're building a club that wants to have sustained success in a league that is known for parity.
Yeah.
And I know that we don't have any trophies in our case right now. And, some of our rivals do. And I looked at FC Dallas when they won in 2016. There's 20 fucking teams. Yeah. There's 20 fucking teams in the league.
Yeah.
20 teams in the league. Get over it. So
how many were there when Houston won with a different team's roster?
Exactly. We're fucking building something original, organic here. And it's an exciting time. And with all that going on, we still got to wrap our heads around making sure we get a win at Miami, because that is the most important thing right now for this club.
Well, I appreciate the segue there.
That was my first one.
There you go. You did well.
I can put those hats on. I can juggle it.
You can do multiple jobs there.
That's right, man. I can sit here and be stupid and do segues.
Well, let's look ahead to Inter Miami this Saturday. Bit of an early start out there on the East Coast. 6:30 Central, so 6:39 kick for us in FC and Inter Miami. And again, Miami, not the last place team in the league, but they're goddamn close, man. They're 1 game above, or 1 point above the wooden spoon leading Colorado Rapids. And look, man, the 2 teams below them, the Galaxy, are also on 15 points with Miami, but Miami have 5 wins. The Galaxy only have 3, so Miami is above them. The fact that we lost to and have drawn the 2 teams below Miami. Oh God! Again, we were talking about trap game.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Let's dive in a little bit more. The form that they are in right now and why they are in that form, I think is what makes me pretty confident. But I'm not going to say this is 100% guaranteed, because we've said that a couple of times this year, and it has not worked out well. Miami, 5 wins, no draws, 13 losses. Just some wild variance there. Because even with a shit team, you'd think in 18 matches you don't pick up 1 draw. Pretty crazy there. They have lost 7 straight league matches. But during that stretch, they have 2 Open Cup wins. 1 against a rotated Nashville side, and then they beat a USL side in the quarterfinals. So Inter Miami are in the semis of the Open Cup, and Messi should be playing in that, that's going to be pretty crazy to watch.
I think that's good for us. I think that them still being alive in the cup is really big for us, because I think logically that should be the most attractive thing that this team should be going for right now. So like where they're at in the standings, where they sit right now, the amount of luck that would have to go into making the playoffs, the energy you would have to expend, the guys you would run into the ground, the injuries you're already dealing with. So like, to me, I think that they should be more focused on that.
Well, so here's the why I'm going to say no, that's not the case. Is that the semis aren't until the end of August.
Okay.
So I don't think here on July 1st you're really planning. You've got an entire competition between now and then, and 4 or 5 league games.
Like I said last night, I was up trying to think about this, and there is nothing. This is an unprecedented moment in sports history. We have the greatest player of all time not only leaving his team, but he's dropping down multiple talent levels.
Yeah, waiting in the wings now.
And he's also going to a team that is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm trying to figure out what the mentality of this team is, because, I mean, regardless of if they say it or not, some of those players aren't happy. Not everyone in that locker room is excited about this, buddy. I can guarantee you that. So I'm trying to figure out where they're coming from. And I think you said it best. I think you said it best with the recent form.
Mm.
It's the reasons why we're in that form. It's not that just we got results. It's the reason that we're back to our most comfortable formation, our best players back. We were we were relatively healthy at the center back position. Now Rado's gone, but we saw Ring back in practice. So that's very encouraging. So the reasons why we got those results are why I'm also confident in our ability to go down there and win in what could be a trap game. But again, I don't know what this team is playing for right now, this Miami club. And when you're particularly devoid of talent and you're also dealing with injuries, you need to have some sort of purpose and passion to continue to go out there and lay it all on the line and go to battle. So I don't know where they're at mentally. Obviously, new coach. He's, they fired Neville. Another coach is in, and he's going to be gone soon. Yeah. It's like, so I can't even wrap my head around what they're doing in practice to prepare and be ready for this game. So look, you talked about the two teams underneath them that we did not have success against. I believe that was then. This is now. Yeah. This is a different situation. So my confidence is sky high that we're going to go down there and get the job done.
When you mentioned the coaching carousel there, I think I forget the name of the interim there. I think it's Javier
Morales.
You're right. Yeah, Javier Morales. Yeah, good call. So they fired Phil Neville June 1st. Morales has been the interim since then. And then just today, they announced officially, we had known for weeks now that Tata was coming in there, but Tata Martino officially named head coach at Inter Miami. So that's what I want to know. So Tata's coaching Saturday, right?
I don't know.
He's the head coach now, you would think.
Yeah.
Or does he come in against Cruz Azul with Messi?
That's what I'm thinking, maybe, honestly.
I don't know.
They do a LeBron style Miami Heat introduction.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But again, the injuries are what is making me most confident, because this team did not have a ton of talent to begin with. But first of all, Gregory, we know we talked about that early in the season. He went down season ender. That's their captain, right? Yep. Jean Mota is out. Quarantine John is out. And now after this last weekend, Franco Negri, who was one of their best players remaining, left back, he went down long-term injury. Negri is their highest rated player on FOTMOB this season for what it's worth. Kamal Miller, who they traded for mid-season, he's with Canada at the Gold Cup. DeAndre Yedlin, he's with the U.S. at the Gold Cup. So this is going to be a pieced together Inter Miami lineup. Now, look, Drake Callender is in goal. He is, on the fringe of the national team, that type of level. That's a good goalkeeper back there. And he has kept them in some of these games. Joseph Martinez is up top, right? Leo Campana is available. He came off the bench in their last game. So, there's a couple guys, especially up front, to be concerned about. And you've got a good keeper in net. But at the end of the day, the better team on paper, and I think on the pitch on Saturday, is going to be Austin FC. Miami is led in scoring by Martinez, who, again, the two guys tied for 10th in terms of all-time MLS goal scoring will face off here. Joseph Martinez, 102. Jossie Zardes, 102. Campana also has 3 goals in his 12 games. He missed 6 matches due to injury. So to me, if I had to choose between Joseph Martinez, and I know he's got a lot of fans, and Leo Campana, I'm taking Leo Campana here in 2023. But again, both guys can still score goals at a high level. Last week they tried they played a back 5 to try to cover up some of those holes on the back line. Didn't work against Philly 4-1. But let's talk about us. We did get Josh to kind of give a kind of a non-update on Ring. He did say, like you brought up, Alex Ring was in training with the team today. But he was non-committal on his availability for this weekend. So he said it'd be nice to get Alex Ring fit, getting him back out on the field in some capacity, hopefully this weekend. So they're again, like he said, hopeful in the presser after the match Saturday. we get hopeful again here on Wednesday morning. He says, but our plans are the immediacy of the near future. I'm not too interested in looking too far beyond what's happening right now and getting this team in position for playoffs and in the top 4 to create home field advantage. So I imagine we'll see an Alex Ring questionable designation. And I guess we can just go ahead and get into, he did mention Lima able to slot in at center back if needed. We know that already. Let's just go ahead and unless you have anything else to add, let's go ahead and jump into our lineup predictions and lineup desires. I'll start it off this week, E. I think we get a Julio Kip pairing, and I'm nervously excited for that. What do you think we're going to do here on Saturday against Miami?
I was not expecting you to say that. One, I think Alex is going to be ready. I think the writing on the wall with Rado made them be extra cautious with Alex and getting him back.
Okay.
That's just my take on that.
Sure.
I thought something was up. That's just my take on that.
Well, we got no information, so everybody's everybody's got their own speculation at this point.
In regard to a Kippy Julio pairing, no, I don't think that's what we're going to see.
Okay.
I don't. And I don't know if it's going to be us going to the 5-back or if it's going to be Nicky at the other center back position, and then we go with Lundy and Johnny G. All-Star Johnny G.
All-Star Johnny G. Going to get to that.
Yeah. So I don't think it's Kippy. Look, and the reason why I'm so confident in this game going down there to play Miami is because the only way a team that Miami can beat us with these current rosters, the injuries, the players available, is if Austin goes down there and they're fucking asleep. Yeah. And they're just out of it. And this team has been sharpening the swords for the last couple of weeks now. They've heard the noise. They've heard the chatter. They saw where we were on the table. They have been a bit hardened by this situation and what they had to go through, the obstacles. I talked about that foundation cracking. That is also opportunity. It's opportunity for a player to understand who they are. What type of person are you when the chips are down? Are you showing up for the club or are you bailing on the club? And our guys showed up. So, and that's why even when shit was bad and we were looking like dog water, I was like, look, these guys are fighting. So the only way that this Miami club can come and beat us in this game is if we're asleep. And I do not think that is going to happen. Josh now back in just a full head manager capacity, laser focused. We're locked in, ready to go. So with that being said, I just don't think it's the opportunity to put somebody who we didn't necessarily have in that stretch where we were really going through it in Kippy because he was with FC2. And that's why I say Nicky, if not the 5-back. And look, when we were treading water and just trying to keep the season alive, we found a little something there. It's not going to be a completely new thing that we have to roll out if we do go to it. So I feel confident in that as well.
So you're saying if no Alex, Nick gets the start at center back?
Yes.
Okay. Outside of that, obviously I just have Kip filling in for Rado. I have Kip for Rado and the other 10 the same from what we saw last week.
Absolutely no reason to change it other than the Rado situation.
Well, and I think for me, the hesitation I have with saying we could go to the back 5 is that with Diego back now and Seba back now, I think those guys succeed more with that back 4 because it allows us to play those guys, all of those guys forward. Obviously, Ethan now filling in for Emmy in that spot, but the formation is the same, right? To get those 3 attackers up there, still have the Owen Danny pairing and Jossie up top. That requires the 4-back look.
It's a good point.
But again, we'll see, man. Because again, like the uncertainty has now completely gone back lineup wise to the center back position. And look, man, I'm when it comes to Kip, look, we know he's not going to come out on the pitch and look like the most confident. He's not going to look like an all-star, right? But he's been for better or worse, how he looks does not equate to the results that he's produced. And he's been a part of the best back line in Next Pro. Obviously, that's a step down, maybe 2 steps down from competition at the first team level. But now 2 appearances at home in the friendly confines last week, 1 a full half. We didn't think Kip was obviously going to be a starter coming into the season, but I won't speak for you. Me, at least, I was still very excited to see him develop even more this season as our second-year former 5th overall pick, a kid that was projected by many to go number 1. And he had mistakes in his rookie year as well, but we know that center backs coming into this league, again, if you're just talking long-haired white dudes at the position, Zimmerman is the pinnacle, right? At least recently for the American center back coming out of college, right? Coming through that draft. Took him 2.5 years to be a full-time starter in this league. And I'm not saying that Kip ever gets anywhere close to the quality that Zim, World Cup starting center back type of guy. I'm not saying he's ever going to be that, but we still need to give this guy time. And just because he had that one 20-minute stretch of a brain fart and then taking a bad angle against St. Louis, I'm not giving up on the kid. And since then, he has done again, to me, the only box he has not checked is it doesn't look pretty sometimes. But as long as you get the job done, I don't give a shit how it looks. So I'm excited at the prospect of a start. And at the very least, I'm excited that Josh said today, again, we're going to need him in these upcoming games. So we're going to see some Kip Keller in some capacity. And I'm looking forward to him getting an opportunity to go out there, like Josh said 18 times in one sentence, go out there and perform.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm just saying it's not the start. I don't think this is the time he starts. He's going to play versus Miami, 100%. He's going to play. And he should. And I'm excited for him too. And you said it perfectly. They're going to be on him with the press.
Yeah. Houston was, right?
Houston was all over his ass. They were blitzing him every time. So, he's seen it again. So I'm all for it. We said it earlier. We can't let Kippy go. When the worst happened, it wasn't like we got to banish the kid forever. Yeah. No, he's a part of this club. He's going to be an integral part of this team going forward, and we're going to fucking need him.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. All right, one thing left to do here, E. Score predictions. I know you are not predicting an Austin FC draw or loss to this team. That it won't be your first time for that. So, how much is Austin FC winning by on Saturday?
I think it's a 2-0 complete performance, dominating win in all facets of the game.
Yeah, I like
it. You got a good keeper.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Louis, baby.
I was between that scoreline and what I'm going to say here. I'm going to say 2-1. I'm going to allow for Miami to get a shit goal, especially if I think that Kip is starting. I'm not saying the goal is on Kip, but again, we're rotating guys into this back line where we just have not had continuity this entire season. And with the firepower that they do have, Joseph can still score, right? Yep. Campana scored on us last year as their lone goal in that game. I think they could sneak one by us here. So I'm going to go 2-1, but I do think we get multiple goals on this team that is nowhere near full strength. And we're not full strength either, but we've got way more firepower and way more talent on this pitch. And hopefully it travels, man. You got to have this 3 points. You have to.
Absolutely. Like I said at the start of the show, last week was fucking last week, and it might as well have been 20 years ago because it doesn't mean shit when we go down there, and we got to go get the job done. Period.
6:30 p.m. Central on Saturday. Austin FC taking on Inter Miami. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the other tidbits we got from Coach at press availability today. Of course, the window opens this time next week. July 5th is the first day that those international signings can come in and officially sign with their teams. So from that presser today, some other, what to expect over this next month. Josh, kind of said very similar things to what he said on Saturday. He said, I mentioned before we had some plates spinning inside the league and outside the league. We have a level of urgency. When you deal with internationals, and he acknowledged the process that frustrates the fan base, including you and I, a lot of the time with these acquisitions is when you deal with internationals, there's the time it takes them to get here, all the paperwork, then getting used to the climate, getting used to the game model, and so forth. So we'll see what's in the league as well. And then he also kind of commented on the difficulties of deciding what to do with a player that you could bring in terms of, is it a loan? Is it a long-term contract? He pointed out we've got Leo for a number of years. We've got Julio for a number of years, and there's a few ways we can navigate here. So he said, it could be a 6-month loan, long-term play. I guess so. Talking about that, and before we kind of discuss our own thoughts here, we talked about how I thought We Are Awesome TV, again, they are still the place to look usually for these types of rumors. And yesterday they had the update, which wasn't super fun. They were hearing that some of these potential center backs may be falling through the cracks for Austin, and that if that came to pass, that the club is okay going with Kip and having him play a bigger role. So again, maybe I'm reading into that too much with my lineup prediction. But that's what they said. And those guys, you don't have 100% hit rate, but they're pretty plugged in. And so I guess with what Josh said and with what We Are Austin tweeted out yesterday, where's your mind at in terms of what this club is going to do at center back now with Rado loan officially up on Friday?
Well, you look at what Josh has been saying, right? You look at how he's been putting this kind of laying the table.
Mm-hmm.
It's we're looking. We got plate spinning. I guess we're killing this plate spinning thing.
Yeah, right.
We got a full fucking table now. So if something was not going on behind the scenes, I think he would be speaking in a very different tone. We all know he chooses his words wisely. He understands how to deflect questions, understands how to give just enough information to get somebody off his back. And I think what he would be saying if nothing was going on behind the scenes is, we have to get help here. We have to do something to try to put pressure on the other players that are involved in the arduous process of getting international players over here.
Yeah.
So, especially with what happened today, I'm fine with not hearing any rumors, because I think the table, again, has been set for us to bring somebody in who we need this season to go forward and do what we want to do. And like we said earlier, this front office needed to go to bat for Josh, because he was on the front line taking all of it.
Yep.
And there wasn't a sporting director. And then, boom, you get Rodolfo in. So I think that they are on board with getting a talent infusion on the pitch for this club. I don't necessarily know if it's at center back, particularly now with this new knowledge from We Are Awesome TV about things slipping through the cracks. So we'll see. But I do think somebody is coming, and I'm not sure where it's going to be, but I do think somebody's going to be brought in who's going to help us, particularly on the back line.
Yeah, I think I would be surprised, to your point about Josh, how he chooses his words carefully and making a point twice in 4 days to say, look, we're looking in and outside of the league. And some of these things, especially inside the league, right? Those intra-league moves can appear during the window, because if we don't know who other teams are going after and they make a signing or two, then all of a sudden, sometimes other players on those rosters become expendable that could help us.
Yeah.
And sometimes even for other teams outside of the league, players become available, or, all of a sudden X team is going to sign this guy. Again, it makes players available who weren't before. And so again, that's the window is almost a month long. Like, I think it's going to be in flux until we hear something. And again, like you said, I know some fans want morsels from the club, right? They want rumors, they want information, and I get it, man. We look for every piece of Austin FC information that we possibly can consume, but it's a good thing to have a club running a tight ship, tight-lipped, airtight, nothing getting out, because look, we said over the last week, nothing is coming out. Maybe something's brewing. Look what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with the player personnel changes that could be coming, I feel the same way. And it's easy to be confident in that after what happened today. But I think, we're certainly going to bring some players in, and maybe it is short-term loan guys that are more depth pieces than a Radovanovic type of guy who could step in and start for most teams, I think.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Can you only trade a DP for a DP?
Well, no, but it just has to do with your roster designations, right? I imagine you could, depending on their salary, huh?
But it opens up a DP spot if you were to move a DP and not acquire a DP in trade.
Yes.
Okay. So for me, if I'm talking about what I want to see, and also I just want to say that I was confident that we were going to get somebody before Rodolfo came into the picture here.
Yeah. Well, we are going to get somebody, player personnel.
I would like to see an intra-league trade for a center back.
Okay.
Preferably a vet.
Okay.
Off one of these lower in the table clubs, or if somebody becomes available because they make an upgrade, because then that alleviates a large portion of the long process that needs to take place in order to get an international defender over here, acclimated, ready to play. So that could take that part of the equation out, which means that we can get more immediate help where we need it. Now, like we talked about before, who are the players on this roster who have actual value for other clubs in this league? Because we know tanking is not really a thing. You're not trying to, bomb. You're not trying to move contracts just to be bad. Right. And it's Alex. So if you can make a trade with Alex to get to get a center back from within the league, and then get him as acclimated as quickly as possible, then you open up a DP spot, and then that's where I think you can go try to sign somebody and bring somebody in on the offensive side, maybe at wing, maybe at striker, to bring them on a little more gradually, and then get the kick from that later in the season.
Well, and I have two things there. If you move Alex, it opens up that TAM level DP spot, right? So there's a certain salary that you could pay. I think it's like 1.5 mil or something. It has to be in this range where you can actually buy them down with TAM. And that's because we have all 3 U22 spots filled. But again, if you find a new home for Musa, then Zani is off the books on the season-ending injury list until the end of the league year. And that could potentially be a hurdle unless Rodney Redis is out of contract, which we don't have confirmation on that. So again, there's a lot of unknowns in that process. But I'm with you there. And to your point about the intra-league opportunities, Toronto, with that firing, you're listening to Tom Bogert on Extra Time talk about there is hardly a player on that roster that doesn't want out. Yeah. And again, I don't think on that roster, unless like a Matt Hedges wanted to come to town, come back to Texas. I'm not sure how good he is with his feet. I don't have the scouting report on Matt Hedges outside of what we know about him in his tenure with Dallas, how long he was there. But again, that can happen on other teams as well. Maybe not to that everything is on fire level like it is in Toronto right now, but things can change very quickly over the next couple of weeks. And so again, like we've said for a couple of weeks, we are getting into the point of the season where we are going to be talking about this pretty much every episode, and probably have some developments every time we press record. You mentioned it earlier. I cannot believe it. He deserves it. I just can't believe he got the votes. Jon Gallagher, MLS All-Star club, releasing a video on Tuesday morning. It's like I said, man, it's insane to me that he got the votes. And I think what it says to me is that the Austin FC fans, we have some voting power. There's no way that the voting public of the MLS fan bases around this country looked up that Jon Gallagher, looked up his merits and slotted him in at right back. And to me, we talked about a couple of weeks ago that the club had put out a call for votes for Danny and for Seba. At the time, I had said I think those are probably the only two guys who have a chance because the club probably gets voting returns from the league. And so they were making a push for those two. Now I think Johnny had it. And those two had been bolstered by the Austin fan base to a point where they could have maybe gotten in. So the coaches, I think, select half the team. The fans select their first choice 11 or whatever. So no other Austin players, and rightfully so, no other Austin players were selected by the coaches' vote. There was, Tyler Miller got selected. I think Runes is the coach, and that would make sense. So I'm like, Tyler Miller is nowhere near an all-star this year. But yeah, man, congrats to Jon. In the video that the club released, he had been, I don't remember this press conference, but I think it was from a few weeks ago, where he said, man, in college, one of my goals was like, once I get drafted and begin my pro career, I want to be an MLS All-Star. And now here he is. And even at the beginning of the season, that would have been like, no way. He got voted the top right back in the league, as he should have. We made the case. We both came around to that by the time we cast our ballots. And oh man, I feel great for the guy. And who doesn't, right?
Absolutely. Love it. And then when you take into account that most diehard MLS fans who are actually placing votes for All-Stars do not like us.
Yeah, sure.
Makes it even more impressive. So yeah, big ups to Johnny G. Well-deserved, earned, not given.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. I didn't know that little tidbit about wanting to make an All-Star game. So now that R.I.P. Kobe, man. You know how Kobe was giving out the Mamba mentality. You got to keep – it's next step, Johnny. Let's do it again next year, baby.
Yeah.
2 in a row. Whatever we got to do. Keep growing, keep evolving, keep balling, man. That's great.
Yep. And again, another one of those players that signed a contract extension with the club. It's going to remain part of this core for the foreseeable future. But not the only honor, Austin FC honor, I should say, going to D.C. in a couple weeks. In the Austin FC 2 ranks, he's on a first-team contract, but very deserved. Damian Las going to be one of the 4 participants to go into the goalie wars this year. And if you don't know what goalie wars is, I urge you to look it up on YouTube. It was an old MLS All-Star competition. They bring these goals, 25 yards apart. And the goalies just blast shots at each other and try to make saves. And it's super entertaining to watch. And so they're going to have the top 4 MLS Next Pro keepers go out to DC and participate in that. I hope that it's broadcast this year. Last year's competition was not broadcast. They showed some highlights on the All-Star show, before the skills competition, I believe. But They put the full goalie wars up on YouTube. So at the very least, we will have that after the festivities. But, man, I would have been super angry if Damian didn't get that honor because he's been the best keeper, best defense in Next Pro. Congrats to the young man. And I really don't think whether it's in Austin or another place, another stop in his career, it's not going to be the only all-star type of accolade that Damian Las gets in his career.
Totally agree. Just congrats to him. Love watching him play.
Last thing in the news portion here. We talked about the potential for a Marvel Austin FC crossover. And my God, was it worse than we could have imagined. We had the 4th of July warm-up top from 2021, kind of the bacon strip looking warm-up top, white and red. This is not too different. It looks like a bunch of Captain America shields blended together. I forget who it was that said it in LDR today, so I apologize. But somebody said it looks like a poorly made pattern on some children's pajamas. And I thought that was a pretty good description. This will not be a jersey that I'm considering purchasing. Any additional thoughts from you on this monstrosity of a kit?
Yeah, I'm going to get one.
Are you?
For reasons.
Okay, for reasons. All right. I guess I'm sure you'll reveal those reasons at a later date. Let's jump into last business day here because the Austin FC 2 boys coming off a tough loss, down a man, taking on some injuries up there against Tacoma on Sunday night. Short week. They're going to the elevation out there in Utah, taking on Real Monarchs. So quick preview of that one here. That is going to be Friday night, coming up 9 p.m. Central is the kickoff time. Austin FC2 already played Real Monarchs a couple weeks ago at the pitch. It was a 3-0, 3-0, I should say. Got to get my vernacular in, get it straight here. 3-0 win at the pitch. You had a brace from David Rodriguez, and then you had a late goal from Valentin Noel, who came in off the bench. That was his return from that little knee tweak that he had against Dynamo Dos. That game against Real Monarchs was the first game that we saw Joe Hafferty in at center back. Austin FC had called Kip up that weekend to come on the bench, and they won't have Kip again here tonight. And like you said on the last pod, maybe never again. I think if all things go according to plan, probably never again. Real Monarchs, not one of the better teams here in Next Pro. They are sitting in 12th in the West. That's out of 14 teams, so only above the two LA Next Pro sides in Galaxy and LAFC2, who are just absolutely atrocious this year. But Real Monarchs, through 15 matches, sitting on 5 wins, 5 wins, 1 draw, and 9 losses. Goal differential of -16. So again, just not a good roster this year. And sometimes I think that's how it's going to be in Next Pro, especially if you need some of these guys to, you don't have many first team guys to throw down with Next Pro. You're probably going to struggle against teams that do. They are led in scoring by Teron Williams, who is number 45, and Elijah Paul, who's number 23. Both of those guys have 3 goals apiece, but Elijah Paul has been up with the first team and I think appeared in each of RSL's last 2 matches. So potentially Elijah Paul not going to be with Real Monarchs on Friday, but will be something to watch. Williams, number 45, Paul, number 23. Moses Nyman is by far their highest rated player on FOTMob. We talked about him before that first matchup between these two teams. But now on FOTMob, he's nearly a full point higher in terms of his FOTMob rating than the rest of the roster. So Nyman, number 33, is kind of the engine that is making this team go. And again, maybe that engine sputtering a little bit along the way. But very talented there, Nyman, number 33. In terms of Austin, Valti, the grill master, going to be out because of that red card, right? Red card suspension. We'll see you back next game, Jackson. And then, of course, we get no injury updates from Next Pro, but Czech Toure, our boy, walked off non-contact injury last game, had his, head in his shirt. So I got my fingers crossed that it was something minor, and maybe he sits out this one, but that it's nothing long-term. I'm assuming at some point we'll get an update on Czech Toure. And, of course, Kip Keller going to be up with the first team here. So no Kip. We're going to be piecing together this back line again. What do you think we see here in terms of a lineup?
Cool. It's a good question. A tough question. Given the Kip, obviously given Valti being gone and Czech's status up in the air, I'm a bit perplexed. Obviously, you're going to get Sally Maz.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, Joe had a rough go of it at center back, and then we moved him out to right, and he played just like a light switch came on.
He looked like Joe Hafferty then.
Yeah. But I think you got to slot him back in there, right?
I think so. And this is what I wanted to bring up. Again, if we could put our speculation, our tinfoil hat back on, what if this team goes to a back 5? What if you go Sally Maz, your central center back there. You put Joe on his right. You put Alonso Ramirez on his left. And we see Charlie on the left. And look, this is probably not going to happen because we haven't seen him touch the pitch yet this season, but pretty sure Anthony DeAnda is a right back. Maybe you may see some adjustments there. They've also got Chris Wickham, who we've only seen once this season, but he is a center back. So I think maybe especially if Kip is gone for good from this roster, maybe they do make some shifts here at the back. Again, just throwing it out there. I don't think that is probable to happen, but you got to figure something out here.
All right, I'll figure it out for you.
All right, give it to me.
All right, we're pushing Cap and Joe to the right.
Okay.
Sally Maz pairs with Alonso.
Okay.
We get Asensio on the left behind Fodre. I need Bobo in the middle.
I think that's what Bobo did after we shifted Ramirez back last game.
I need Bobo in the middle there. Get David split out wide on that right. Valentin. And
David, who was not in the team on Sunday.
Correct. David, Valentin, and I want to see some AOC action.
Okay. And CJ on the left.
CJ on the left.
Yeah. We're missing one midfielder still.
Oh, Steve. Okay. Shout out Steve for his contract. I'm excited for him.
Yeah. Congrats again to
Rodolfo here now too, man. Like, that's great.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
That's great for him, man. Like,
absolutely.
Clearly wants to be a player in this league, or he wants to be a pro, and he's showing it, and I'm excited for him too. And congrats to him on his contract.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see when that lineup comes out Friday night. I think I'm going to be out with the Verde Pendant boys, and I know you were meaning to be there, but some schedule conflicts. You'll be there next time.
I will. Shout out to the Verde Pendant boys. I really did want to be there.
Yeah, of course.
I don't have the best memory sometimes.
No. And I told those guys as much. So now you're confirming. It's not just me talking shit. But I'm going to keep talking shit about you to all of our friends. All right. Score predictions for Friday. How much is Austin FC 2 winning by?
3-0 again. This
3-0
team sucks. They do not belong on the field with us. We're going to be pissed after that last game. 3-0.
All right. Well, nobody can help you when you're down 3-0. I'm going to say 2-1 again, just like the first team here. I'm going to give RSL again with our backline uncertainty there. Still got Damian in net. I'm not worried about the L here. But I'll give RSL a goal at their place in the elevation with our backline, shifting a little bit. But again, I think our guys, no matter who is up front, we got depth for days up there. So give me 2-1 Austin here. And again, we'll take 3 points any way it comes. So good luck to those guys out there on Friday. Safe travels. And we'll be watching and cheering for you. Let's get to the nonsense here, E. First of all, best ball update. And I guess the first thing we can say about best ball is that next Wednesday, July 5th, 7 p.m., we're going to have a live stream. We Are Austin TV, Moon Tower Soccer, Texas Ring of Fire, our summer transfer window best ball draft. Going to have those guys have some more fun with this nonsense, right? Kind of retool our teams, fucking get RB some guys that are playing, man. Texas Ring of Fire had more players DNP this week than actually active.
That's tough.
Yeah, it's keep kicking them in the nuts, man. It keeps getting worse. So again, going to be able to refresh our rosters. That's going to be fun. It's going to be silly. It's going to be fun. And we're going to spend some time as well talking about Austin FC, talking about transfer window rumors because the window opens on that day. So we're going to have at least some news from around the league to discuss. So very much looking forward to chopping it up with those boys. Again, we had a blast on the original draft, and I know you and we've been scouting. We have our own front office here, and we both got interim titles, I think, at this point. But when it came to last week's results, or I should say over the weekend, the North End podcast was victorious. 55 points for the good guys. We've won 3 of the last 5 weeks, and oh shit, my bad, threw a sample size out there. 18 points from Ryan Gauld, leading MLS fantasy scoring. So we will take that from the Vancouver Whitecaps. 10, by far his best performance for us this season. We got 11 from Carlos Vela, 9 from Lorenzo Insigne. Moon Tower, of course, in second, right on our heels, 49 points. 10 from Denny Buanga, 9 from Jakob Glesnes, 9 from Brad Stuver with that clean sheet bonus. We are Austin down week. They did not have an active goalkeeper, so that was unlucky. But the rest of their guys, highest scorer was Nick Lima, 8 with that clean sheet bonus. Nobody else above 7 on that roster. So just a down scoring week for them, in addition to, as we've had before, no keepers, just unlucky with the way the schedule broke. And I think the way the Gold Cup broke. And then, like I mentioned, RB and the Texas Ring of Fire boys, 24 points, which is not bad when you have no defense, no keeper, and only one option at forward. Yeah, so again, looking forward to next Wednesday. We'll have one more round of scoring this Saturday, and then we'll go reverse order of standings in that draft. And we'll talk about the nitty-gritty, the details of that when that comes. Little bit less joyous talk here. Let's recap the Week 21 betting picks. Not great, not great. Austin -105 comes through for us. We love the boys for that. The Philly Hammer -240, you threw 2 units on that. That comes through with the 4-1 win. Good job. Maybe we should have put 10 units on that, because I think we got like 0.83 units from that win. 4 misses on the week. RSL +110, get a draw. Charlotte -115, they get a draw. Seattle -105, they get a draw. And then San Jose +105 at home lose to the team with no DPs active, St. Louis, with the 2-1 win out there in San Jose. San Jose, a team that you said earlier in free fall. It's hard for me to disagree at this point. That's a bad loss for the Quakes. -2.21 units on the week. So we've pretty much wiped out the 2 weeks of profit we had. We're back down -28.79 units on the season. But I won't say we're taking big swings this week, but we are spraying and praying. A lot of picks coming your way here in Week 22. I'll toss it to you. Start us off here with the Week 22 betting picks.
Well, everybody knows where I'm going to start this off, baby. Austin at Miami, getting them at +180. Already told you the reasons why we're going to win. Already told you the score we're going to win by. Easterdamus on full display. Lock that in for me.
I love it, Austin. +180 at Miami. Not surprised if that number is bet down coming up to lock on Saturday, just given Miami's form right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to start it off here going to the Crew, and I'm going to take Columbus. Red Bulls coming to town, and Columbus, look, man, when they have Cucho and they have Zelarayan out there running around, when they're at home and those two guys are healthy, I'm going to think they have a pretty good chance to win here. So I like them near even odds there, -105 Columbus at home against Red Bull. Lock it in, and back to you.
All right. I am going against my boys, stabbing them in the back, the DC Fighting Runes. Yeah. They're playing in Nashville. It's a tough place to play. We've continuously been burnt by taking road dogs. So I'm going to take the home favorites here, take Nashville -125. I'm sorry, Wayne.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think he can forgive you. So Nashville -125. I like it. You brought up DC to me at first. I went, Nashville?
Yeah.
You'll take a swing later. I'm going to go to the team that I said everything is on fire for them. Okay.
Okay.
Toronto has RSL coming to town, coming north of the border up there to Canada. Toronto is +105 at home against RSL. And for me, this is just I don't care who's on the bench for them as an interim this week. We know that Lorenzo Insigne, Federico Bernardeschi wanted Bob Bradley out of there. So I'm thinking that there's maybe a little bit more juice in the step of those two Italians this week, and that they can put more goals past the RSL keepers than RSL can put past the backup there in Toronto. So I think that one shoots out a little bit, but Toronto at home +105 is where I'm going now. And I see that you've got some noise going on at your place. So I'm just going to go to my next pick because we got plenty here. And look, I thought about the perfect bet. LAFC is coming to Texas. They're going to Dallas, right? So I thought about the perfect bet. but I just don't see any way Dallas wins this match. They're still struggling with injuries, but for me, the main point is Jesus Ferreira is still with the U.S. men's national team at the Gold Cup, and their record without him over the last 2 years is horrible. So LAFC coming to town, LAFC trying to get back on track. I think they do here with a road win plus 140 at Dallas. And I'm going to keep going here because you got boys going. I'm going to pick some goal scorers here this week. I'm going to start off with our boy. Seba Driussi is plus 230 to score at Miami this week. Now, of course, he can get a goal from open play. But maybe this is the week with some inexperienced Miami players out there filling in the gaps that they have in that roster. Maybe we get a PK this weekend. Would be our first of the season, and you know who's taking that PK. So I like Seba plus 230 to score at Inter Miami. And I see you're back off mute.
I'm back. I think we had an Uber Eats delivery here, and
nice.
Woke Moochie up. So we're dealing with that for a moment. But we are back. I'm going to a team that has 2 surprising road wins back-to-back in the Chicago Fire. All right, they're traveling to Orlando. You get them at plus 310. You said we were going to take the shot. There's a shot right there. So I'm going with Chicago. They've had a little bump here. It's something. There's something going on. So I'm taking plus 310, lock her in.
I like it. And Orlando, certainly a little inconsistent of late as well. Why don't you go ahead and fire off another one here since I went 3 in a row?
Let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to take the Vancouver Whitecaps, who are one of the hottest teams in the league right now. When I look at that Western Conference and the table that we're in, and I see Vancouver, they're one of the teams that actually kind of scares me. They're talented, they're well coached, they're disciplined, they're a good club. SKC, they kicked our ass, then they looked terrible. They've been bouncing around all over the place. So there's no continuity going on there. And I'm going to take the Vancouver Whitecaps, get them at plus 250 in SKC. And I really like that one.
I love that one. Vancouver, one of the teams that is underperforming their underlying numbers this year. So again, you mentioned that that's a team that maybe makes you a little bit nervous there in the West in terms of, our actual soccer being played here. They are tied with Austin FC on 25 points, but they have a game in hand on us, and their goal differential is 7. So again, this team is creating a lot of chances and still underperforming. So I like that pick a lot. And that great segue by you twice in an episode. Look at you with that timing, because I'm going to a Vancouver Whitecap who has not scored a goal yet this season. Sergio Cordova, right? He's a designated player. Came over from RSL, or was RSL, went back to his mother club. Now he's with Vancouver. Missed a lot of time at the beginning of the season due to injury, but he has played 90, 90, and 70 minutes over his last 3. He's plus 400 to score against SKC on the road this week. And if he's going to get the start, I'm going to go with those 4-1 odds. So lock me in for Sergio Cordova opening his 2023 account against Sporting KC at plus 400.
I like it. I like those goal props. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Some deep research there. I like that a lot. Good. All right. I am going to a staple of the North End podcast for the bets. Philadelphia Union playing in Atlanta. Atlanta coming off a thrashing their last game. You get them at plus 125, and they're just a good club, and they're hot right now, and I'm going to keep riding them.
Well, you're taking Philly, right?
Yeah.
That's plus 180.
Oh.
Isn't it? Or did I mess that up?
I don't know.
Philly plus 180. That's the Sunday afternoon match. So even better.
Lock it in.
Locking that in. And here's my last pick. We got 6 each, so you got one more. I'm going to go to our boy, right? He takes a crazy amount of shots, and I can't believe he hasn't scored more this season. One player I can guarantee you we're not getting rid of in our best ball summer transfer window is Cucho. So I'm going to Cucho plus 200 to score a goal against Red Bull at home this week. Lock it in and close us out with your last pick here in week 22.
All right, closing out with a perfect bet. going to Houston, who just got their butts whipped by us, if in case any of them forgot. But they're going up to Seattle. You get them at plus 310. Look, they got us plus 500 at LAFC.
Yeah.
So we'll take it. Perfect bet. Houston at Seattle, plus 310. Lock it in.
All right. So a lot of bets here on the week 22 card, but we got to start firing, trying to get back some of these units that we've been bleeding all season. So E's got Austin plus 180 to win at Inter Miami. He's got Houston plus 310 at Seattle. He's got Philly plus 180 at Atlanta, Vancouver plus 250 at SKC, Nashville minus 125 against the Fighting Runes, and Chicago plus 310 at Orlando. I've got Columbus minus 105 at Red Bull, Toronto plus 105 hosting RSL, LAFC plus 140 at Dallas, Driussi plus 230 to score, Sergio Cordova plus 400 to score, and Cucho plus 200 to score. Those are the week 22 betting picks. Come on, boys. Come on. Come through for us. Big week here.
Let's go.
In week 22. And that is going to wrap up episode 68 of the North End podcast. We appreciate you sticking with us through another long, winding 90-minute episode. If you've got 5 seconds to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, wherever you get your podcast, we would greatly appreciate it. And if you've been watching on the YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, help us grow the pod. You can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream like next Wednesday pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Atone for your sins. Wash yourselves clean in the trophies of Rodolfo. We will be back on Sunday recapping Austin FC's matchup against Inter Miami, recapping Austin FC 2's trip out to Salt Lake, and talking about everything else revolving around the greatest team in the world. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the games this weekend. We'll see you back here on Sunday. Until then, he's E. I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.